Today I want to talk to you about referrals, and more specifically why referrals and word of mouth on their own are not a business growth strategy. Now, don't get me wrong, referrals and word of mouth are a great thing. They usually mean you're doing good work and clients trust you and people are happy to talk about you. The problem is this: referrals and word of mouth are ad hoc, they're unpredictable, and they only happen when someone else decides to talk about you at the right moment. In today's episode, I'm going to show you why relying solely on referrals and word of mouth keeps your pipeline uncertain, why confidence in your workload disappears the moment referrals and word of mouth slow down, and how the best consultancy owners combine referrals and word of mouth with a simple, consistent business development rhythm to create real control. Hi, my name's Josh, and I spent 10 years as a director and shareholder of a 3 million engineering consultancy that we grew to a 30 million engineering, town planning, surveying, and architecture business. Today we're going to break this down into 3 parts. 1, why referrals and word of mouth can't be forecast. 2, how reputation without proactive outreach limits growth. And 3, what actually looks like to layer daily structure and consistency to your BD approach on top of word of mouth. But most importantly, do you want a coffee? All right, let's do this. So referrals, don't get me wrong, referrals and word of mouth are super valuable, but you can't control them and you can't forecast them. So I want to talk to you first about obviously referrals, word of mouth, they're a byproduct of doing great work. Like you do a good project, clients talk about you, other people in the industry talk about you, contacts talk about you. The thing I want to get across is you can't rely on them for consistency or planning. They come in, they're ad hoc, great when they do, but it's not a consistent BD approach. So they happen when people are at a barbecue talking about you. They happen when, on another project, maybe the client and a planner are talking, or the client and an engineer are talking, or whoever. It's random and ad hoc. You can't control it, and it happens. It happens when it happens, not when you want more work. And that's a big thing I want to get across here. Is I'm not poo-pooing them. They're great. They're awesome. Keep doing good work. Keep building referral relationships. Keep building word of mouth relationships. But you can't rely on them as a consistent BD approach. You can't turn them on or off. You can't force people to talk about you. They often tend to land in clusters. It's great. Work comes in. But just as much as they land in clusters and work's coming in, they can also dry up and leave you stressed. No warning that they're going to dry up, you're frustrated, you've got no pipeline ahead of you. So obviously they're great because they're earned through delivery and trust, but they're not generated through intention. So good businesses, good consultancy owners appreciate referrals and word of mouth, but they don't depend on them for their pipeline. And that's the main thing that I want to get across to you is, yeah, great, they're awesome, build them, have them in your business, don't say no to them, all those sorts of things, but please don't depend on them for the growth of your business or for keeping your pipeline full. So if referrals and word of mouth, pause for the next 60 days, would you feel confident about where your next project's coming from, or would you feel stressed? The second thing I want to talk to you about is a good reputation, but without proactive BD leaves growth to chance. So you're building a good reputation in the marketplace. You're doing good work for clients. You're doing great designs. You're doing great reports. You're doing things on time. You're building relationships. That's all amazing, but it doesn't guarantee work will consistently come in the door when you want it to. So again, we're talking about this whole concept of referrals and word of mouth and that sort of stuff coming in because you have a good reputation. That's cream on the top. A good reputation doesn't mean that work is going to consistently come in the door when you want it to. And that's the big thing I want to get across is we have to take ownership over the growth of our business if we want to continue to grow. We can't wait for things to come in. Referrals and word of mouth only work when people are talking about you and remember you at the exact time that they need help. They're I must contact that person because I heard they did great work on that previous project. Too many consultancy owners are complacent and almost placid when it comes to business development, starting conversations. Too many owners almost sit back and wait to be contacted and wait to be reached out to because they're so busy delivering and doing things that they forget about BD, instead of actually being proactive and reaching out and starting conversations. So things like, daily LinkedIn connection requests to your ideal client, starting new messages with your ideal clients, LinkedIn marketing or marketing in general, all those sorts of things are you being proactive and creating new relationships regardless of the referral stuff that's coming in. So consistent posting, consistent content, consistent reach out, connection requests, follow-ups in your pipeline, all those sorts of things are you being active, not passive. So passive is referrals and word of mouth coming in the door, which is great. We've talked about that. I want you to be active in your reach out and business development approach because I want you to be in control of creating opportunities to grow your business. So, if you're confident in your capability to deliver the work, but your pipeline and inquiries still feel uneven and lumpy, I just want you to ask yourself, how often are you proactively putting yourself in front of the right people instead of waiting for people to talk about you? Okay, let's do this. I want to talk to you now about how to build consistency into your daily and weekly rhythms to build confidence in your future pipeline of work. So predictability in your pipeline comes from small daily and weekly actions done consistently over a period of time. It's kind of how it works. If you're sitting back and waiting for opportunities to come in, you're at the whim and mercy of other people talking about you and when they feel like, talking about you and giving you work. I want you to build consistency and confidence into your pipeline. I want you to build, a knowing that if you take enough action, new leads will come in the door, new clients will come in the door, and you're taking control over the pipeline of your business. So I talked about this before, but LinkedIn posting, LinkedIn outreach, LinkedIn messaging, done well on a daily basis. And it's something that you can control. Sending out connection requests to your ideal clients, again on LinkedIn, doing follow-ups of all of the proposals that you've sent out, doing follow-ups of all the coffee chats and that sort of stuff that you've had with people. Again, that stuff compounds because you can control that sort of thing. Business development shouldn't just stop because delivery gets busy. And I know this happens all the time. Structure creates this sense of calm confidence in your pipeline, and it allows you to make better decisions. So, we want the referrals and the word of mouth coming in, but I want you to, underlay that with a good structure of daily, weekly, and monthly cadence and reach out and action that you can take to confidently build the pipeline of your business. And if your confidence in your business and confidence in your pipeline, falls apart or falls based on how busy you currently feel, I just want you to ask yourself, what would change if business development was happening every single day, regardless of how full the pipeline was? So many consultancy owners, they win a heap of work, they get busy delivering, the BD action and the cadence drops off, then they have a no crap moment, then it picks up again. I want you to ask yourself, if you just continue to do those daily and weekly actions around BD and you built a structure and you built team and you built support around that, how confident would you feel in your ability to grow your business? So one of the best examples of this comes from an amazing boardroom client called Quinton. Quinton, he already had a solid reputation in the marketplace. Referrals and word of mouth were coming in consistently. Clients were happy, the work itself was good. But like any consulting owners, the pipeline to Quinton still felt super lumpy and super uneven. Some months were up, some months were strong, others were super quiet. And it just placed a whole bunch of stress on him that was just totally unnecessary. He had no way of forecasting what was coming next. So instead of trying to chase more referrals and more word of mouth, Quinton, he layered a simple LinkedIn outreach system underneath what was already happening and already working. So things like daily connection requests to the right people, structured follow-up cadence, clear positioning in the marketplace and around the type of work and clients that he wanted to attract. And to be honest, within a relatively short period of time, Quinton started having more conversations, more new conversations, more new work was coming in the door parallel to what was already coming in the door through referrals and word of mouth. So, these conversations turn into meetings, these meetings then turn into proposals, and then real projects. And not because like Quinton's reputation had changed in the marketplace, but because he was no longer waiting to be talked about. He was taking action and taking control over his outreach strategy. And so for Quinton, nothing replaced like the referrals and word of mouth. They kept coming in, but the difference was that confidence and control around the activity that was happening every day and every single week. So like new conversations were happening, started consistently, and he was no longer relying on like referrals and word of mouth to feed his pipeline. He was taking action and building his consultancy consistently. Let's land this plane. So referrals and word of mouth are great. They're earned, they matter, and they're are usually a good sign that you're doing great work in the marketplace. But on their own, they don't give you certainty. They don't give you consistency, and they don't give you control over when the next project is actually going to come in. Confidence in your future pipeline comes from structure, from staying visible in the marketplace, from starting conversations consistently, from having a simple, repeatable business development rhythm running in the background while you're doing projects. And if you'd like some help building a more efficient and more profitable consultancy, one that grows consistently, increases revenue, gives the confidence on what's coming next, check out our 10 million plus consultancy roadmap training. It's a step-by-step guide to growing to your next level in your business, whether it's to 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, or 10 million beyond, and building a business you can genuinely be proud of. You'll find the link to that training below this episode.